Welcome, Dominic Wheatley, mini challenge racer. Thank you very much for coming on the show and getting involved. But yeah, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, good, very good. Looking forward to chatting with you. I've got plenty to ask about, obviously, the year that's coming up. But first of all, how did you first become interested in motorsport?
Um, well, the earliest memories I have of being at race circuits, my dad was heavily involved in rallycross. So yeah, I think he took a couple of years off in the early 90s when I was first born. But by the time I have any memories, we were back rallycrossing. So it was very natural and that through a childhood of either watching motorsport on TV or watching my dad race at trackside. The idea of kind of just having to go myself was kind of it never dawned on me that it was an odd thing or a unique sport to kind of take part in. So I think I was 11, maybe it was Christmas of my 10th year, where I got a card for Christmas. Santa was good to me that year, and yeah, that was it. We did a couple of years where my dad still tried to rallycross while we karted, and I think in that first year we were maybe at a racetrack 45 weekends of the 52. It
Really?
was it was brutal. Just I say brutal. It was fine for me as an 11-year-old. It was great. It was the perfect year.
Yeah,
If I wasn't out at, I lived just 20 minutes away from a car track, so it was just, even if there wasn't a race on, my dad would just kind of on the weekend say, "Oh, come on, let's get up there and we'll just do some laps," and just, it was just a bit of fun.
yeah.
But so when I wasn't at the racetrack with my dad, with him racing, I was up at the local car track. And then we had the way we got into karting was we had a family friend, one of my dad's mates who also raced, who he got his son into karting first, and I hadn't been in karting long, and they'd kind of convinced us that, look, they're going to go do these national championships. Why don't we just tag along? It'll be a good learning experience. So we were quite in at the deep end with that. And then, yeah, since then it's been motorsport just about every year since then, in one form or another. But yeah, it all really started with my dad's passion in motorsport, and then that kind of just naturally fed through, and now the whole family's motorsport mad.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's funny you obviously say that, because obviously it's quite consuming once you really get into it, whether you're a fan or like you compete. I think it's something the whole family can get into, and it definitely takes over. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Um, how would you sum up your time obviously in karts? Because I think a lot of drivers, that's where they start, and I think most people would agree that is the best place to start. How would you sum up your time in karting?
Um, I think karting, and well, when I did karting, um, it was kind of really competitive. And I'm sure it is now, but I know now there is even more money involved.
Yeah.
It always seems that it's always, every generation seems to have a higher cost. But so I guess being doing it 15 years ago now, it was a bit cheaper at the time, but it was just immensely competitive. There was, in car racing, you hear of grids of 25 cars plus, and you think, oh, that's a strong championship, but in all the national karting events at the time, there was, maybe 60 drivers in each class competing. And, I watch, motorsport now, and you see them off doing kind of and competing very well in international motorsport, both in GT and kind of Formula racing.
Yeah.
But it was really good fun, and it was, like you say, in terms of the kind of family aspect. Uh, I don't think there's many other families that go away for weekends as much as motorsport families do,
Yeah.
you know, and the whole family was away, and even when you had a bad weekend, as a family, you had a good weekend, if that makes sense. So there was still very quiet drive home at times when things didn't quite go your way, but you know, it was always good fun, but yeah, really competitive, and it's a very unique kind of vehicle you drive, because basically, or at least, you know, in my experience, as soon as I got into front wheel drive cars, I basically had to kind of unlearn everything I knew about driving fast, and getting the most out of a kart to a front wheel drive car. But you know, the racecraft is still there, but yeah, they're quite unique, so you have to really work at them to get the most out of them. And yeah, I think if I look back, the guys that did best were the ones that had the most seat time by far. The ones that were out kind of that 40 weekends a year was a kind of a bit of a one-off for us. It got a bit more sensible after that, but you know, the guys that won national championships, that went off to Europe, went off to do worlds, and really competed at that top level of karting, were they were out every weekend and during the week, and you know, any day there was a track open, they were there. But for everyone else, you know, it's still a lot of fun just to be involved in karting. I know you do a bit of karting, don't you?
Yeah,
So,
it's a lot of fun. It's, you know, it's a great place to learn, and yeah, obviously, sort of, you know, at the minute, obviously, in whatever form of motorsport you go to, obviously the budgets can get pretty high, but it is fairly cost effective. But yeah, would you say you had a positive time in it when you were karting?
oh, definitely, yeah. And like you say, it's a great place to learn. Like I said, it's a bit weird because when you go to the front wheel drive, the whole concept of how you control a slide, how you all of a sudden have kind of proper suspension. You're not just relying on flexing of a chassis to get you around corners. Yeah. And the whole vehicle dynamics change, and to get your head around that, and to remember that as you start to slide, don't lift off, keep it planted, and just everything that you'd learned about kind of vehicle performance flips on its head. But like I said, the racecraft is invaluable. You know, when you are out getting lap after lap on huge grids like that, you know, there's nothing that compares to, you know, as you said, compared to other forms of motorsport. For the cost per lap that you actually get is, you know, it's second to none. It is really affordable, especially if you do kind of, you know, at the top echelons of kart racing, it gets expensive. But at the lowest level, you know, when you're just doing these, you know, arrive and drive championships, I've done a couple of when I was at university, I did a couple of years doing the university karting championship in
Right.
100 karts.
Yeah.
And you know, as a student, you know, there was times where I was having beans on toast every meal of every week, because that's, you know, just the budget I had. But at the same time, I always still managed to find a bit of money to put to one side to do that championship. And it, you know, if a student that can barely afford a nutritional you know, meal each day can afford to do it, then it is, you know, great value for money, and it's great fun. Like I said, from being 11-year-old and just getting out on track and having fun, through to being very competitive and kind of chasing national championships, and then just, you know, as a student, going with a couple of mates and saying, oh, let's go join, you know, let's go compete against other unis and have a laugh. And yeah, great fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So when was it that you made the jump from karts to cars, and what was that like?
It was when I finished uni. So we decided, you know, as a family, we decided that we'd take a break from motorsport while I went off to uni. So Yeah, I can't remember what year it was now. I could count it back, but it doesn't really matter. So when I was 17, turning 18, we stopped. But I think my dad lasted maybe a year, and then he got bored. And again, he was up visiting a friend who was racing up in the Scottish Legends at Knockhill, and just went up to kind of support and saw the Scottish Minis up there. And he'd always raced front wheel drive with Rallycross, and he couldn't help himself. Basically, it's like an addiction, and that was it. Before he'd even, he'd been there one weekend, one day, and before he left that day, he'd already agreed to have a go in one at the end of that season in a couple of months' time. And then once he got back behind the wheel, that was it. So he picked up the Scottish Minis while I was at uni, and then all the time while he was racing, I was doing his I wouldn't say data, it wasn't that advanced, but I was watching his onboard footage and trying to kind of give him some advice. He'd done so much rallycross, but he'd never done circuit racing.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time kind of trying to calm him down. Basically, rallycross is a very kind of off the line, rapid, just whoever can get in that first corner first kind of wins. So, and then it's 3 laps of just chaos, and then you finish, and then that's it. So it's kind of do or die kind of mentality. And yeah, so I spent quite a few weekends going, you've got 10 laps and 5 corners, 6 corners a lap at Knockhill. To do something, you've got time. You don't have to do it all on lap 1. So by the time I'd finished uni, he was kind of sick of me commenting on his drive, and then he said, right, okay, come on, next weekend you're in the Mini and we'll see how you get on. And I did quite well. It kind of, maybe I cheated a bit because I'd spent 3 years watching onboard footage of Minis, so I knew kind of where to go and what to do with them. But jumped straight in it. It was great fun. But yeah, it was that first weekend of trying to get that little switch in my head that said, all right, when the back end steps, you need to lift off. If you don't get that right at Knockhill, you can find yourself in all sorts of trouble, because that first corner, you go over Duffer Stip, and you drop. You probably don't see it on TV that much, but anybody that's been there for the touring cars or anything else will know that you go over that and it really drops away. In the car, you can feel it, and the car just goes light. So if it starts sliding at the top of there, which it should be if you're doing it right, and you lift, that's it. You're sideways, backwards, over a blind crest with gravel traps either side. Yeah, you're just asking for destruction. So it took me a good while to get that right in my head. But then once that clicked, and you realize that as long as that front end's doing what you're doing, don't worry about the rear end. That'll follow. It's got no other choice. So just keep it planted. If in doubt, flat out. And it's that simple. Or maybe that's maybe it makes it oversimplified, but in my head it's that simple. Just keep that right foot on that all right kind of thing. So but then did a couple of seasons in Scottish Minis, and then moved on to British Minis, which are very similar. So that transition wasn't too difficult at all. That was just a kind of change from pounding around Knockhill, which is very undulating, fast, windy track, to the kind of big, fast sweeping corners of the likes of Croft, Silverstone, Donington. Just trying to get used to the tracks more than the car then.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I mean, I know you spoke about Knockhill a minute ago. Now we're going to Knockhill for the touring cars this year for the first time. And it's, I mean, obviously I've watched it on TV for many years, and I'm super excited to see the circuit in real life, because I would have thought, like you said, the TV probably doesn't do it justice. So yeah, really looking forward to going there.
I have circuits I dislike. That's easy. Right, I could reel them off. Circuits where they haven't been kind to me over the years. I and maybe this is maybe the, just because it's my local, but I don't have Really like Croft. Just that first section, it always gets me. I love that, those first few corners, and then once you get out through the back, and then just that fast sweeping section, and then into sunny in and sunny out. I think it's a great track. I'm also, I really like Snetterton, but I think that's more because I've always had success at Snetterton. It's always been a kind of a track that's been kind to me. So, but I also like it because it's got a real mix of corners. You've got everything in there, from hairpins to kind of corners where you just have to take your brain out and just commit and just hope for the best kind of thing. So, I like Snetterton for that. So yeah, they'd probably be my two favorite. But there's some tracks I still haven't done. So still haven't got a chance to do Brands GP.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to do this year.
Yeah, of course.
So looking forward to that. I've been told it's a real good track, really fun, but we'll see. We'll see if it's kind to me. And then there's probably another couple. I think there's a couple of smaller tracks I haven't done tucked away, but I think Croft and Snetterton. Yeah, I'll go with that. I can't decide between the two. You'll have to take two as my favourite.
No, good choices. I think we are very lucky with the circuits we've got here in the UK, and brilliant mix of tracks, all very different. Obviously, staying on with the theme of the minis, obviously that's a big part of your racing career. How would you sum up your time in the mini challenge so far? And I presume you've enjoyed it quite a lot.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. We like the Scottish minis was really good fun, but by the time my dad had done a couple of years of it, and then I did 3 years, you mainly only do Knockhill because it's the main track of Scotland, so it gets a bit monotonous. And like I say, we'd probably spent 5 years of traveling up to there and back. And also, I think I had a similar kind of experience to the likes of Joe Tanner, who's in the JCWs.
Yeah,
he's raced in the Scottish minis and always done really well. Always been at the front end, but I don't think he ever won a championship. And it's really difficult up there because you get the guys that know that track inside and out. That's all they do. They just pound around Knockhill. So great championship and great kind of feeder series into bigger things. But after 3 years of that, we were ready to move, and it was really good. We were racing with Performance Tech up in Scotland at the time, and when we said, look, I think next year we're going to go down and do the mini challenge, go do British minis, they were really keen to come and support and get involved with mini challenge down in the British series, which was quite fun because it meant that we went with a car. The regulations are very slightly different between the two cars, so they're very similar but slightly different, which meant we were on a new circuit with a slightly different car, and as a team we just had to kind of build. There was no we'll just go with our base setup for this track. We didn't know what that was, so we worked from scratch. And that first season we really just wanted to learn, just hopefully by the end of the season we'd be competitive, but we did far better than we really expected. We got third overall in the championship and the rookie cup, and that was it. By the end of that season, we'd kind of fallen in love with mini challenge, just the variety of tracks, the way the championship was set up, the cars themselves, the way we raced. I think probably people's what they see of the trophy series with the televised events that we've had recently, especially with like Thruxton, those tracks make for really exciting racing, but it also means that there's a lot of kind of rough racing as well. But across a whole season, when we go to all the different tracks, for how close the racing is, the amount of kind of space given and the kind of respect drivers generally give to one another was really nice, especially compared to Knockhill, where the track's so tight and windy. If you if you overtake someone and both wing mirrors on your car are still intact, that's a one-off. It's a one of a kind. You'd normally lose a wing mirror. You'd normally lose an arch. Contact was inevitable. So coming down to do the kind of bigger circuits, it was really nice to get kind of a bit of space and a bit of racing like that. And so the last 3 years in the trophy championship have been really good fun. And yeah, it makes it easier when you've had success in a championship. You always kind of have those rose-tinted glasses on when you look back. But I think even if we hadn't been as competitive as we have been, it would have still been a great championship to be involved with. Like I said, in car racing, if you're getting grids of 20 to 30, it's a really competitive grid. And, for the majority of the years I've been involved in it, the grids have been, in that window. I think last year we had 34 on the grid in the trophy class. And, just at any race, maybe the top 10 all have a chance of winning it if things just fall right, if it's their day kind of thing. So, you want to win, but you also want to win when you've got such a competitive grid like that. It makes it all the sweeter when you do kind of perform well and you do win. So yeah, it's been really good fun.
Yeah, good. Well, obviously, congratulations on a great time period in the minis. Obviously, staying with the mini theme. Obviously, big year for you. First year in the JCWs. Would you say, firstly, obviously, when did this sort of start? When did you first start talking about doing this year? And would you say that was sort of the aim to move on to the JCWs?
Yeah, I guess right from when we started in the kind of the trophy class and the Coopers down in mini challenge, we knew other drivers in the JCW class, and yeah, it was kind of maybe far off in the distance kind of idea that, oh yeah, maybe he was on Coopers for the last couple of years. It wasn't really until I think it would have occurred earlier in our thought process if it wasn't for the fact we were chasing a championship, but we were so focused in those last couple of rounds on maximizing that year and making sure we won that year's title, that it wasn't until we kind of came away from Silverstone. It was maybe a couple of weeks later that we kind of said, what do we do now? Do you go back and try and kind of fight to retain your title and defend it, or do you kind of decide, right, we've done that now, we've accomplished what we wanted to, let's go try something else? And yeah, it was a couple of weeks down the line when we kind of started talking about it and started kind of dabbling in that idea. And then, like anything, once it kind of, that seed is planted, it kind of grew and grew. And then that's all I could think about was, I really want to go JCWs now. Now that I've really thought about it, that's all I want to do. So then that was it. The ball got rolling, and a lot of phone calls, a lot of kind of discussions with sponsors and teams and everyone else involved. We've got, there was a couple of guys that were involved with performance tech, that they were also talking about, working as race engineers or data engineers in JCW. So then we started going, well, what are you doing? And, we'd quite like to keep working with you. So what's going on there? And a lot of kind of, a lot of time spent on phone calls over this winter. But we got, I can't actually remember now. It was 2 weeks gone, or a week gone Tuesday, we announced that we were at JCWs with Graves, which was really nice to be able to kind of rubber stamp it and fully commit. And I'm looking forward to that with Graves. And then we had our first go out in a JCW just the other day. So it's well underway and it's quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you're obviously out testing the other day, first time with a JCW car. How was that? Obviously, with it being a new car, lots to learn. I would have thought.
Yeah. I'd compare it to the step between karting and going front wheel drive. Really? Even though it's from front wheel drive to front wheel drive, everything else about it was different. Even how the front wheel drive, how the cars react, the vehicle dynamics of them are totally different. Because with the Cooper, you have a road car that's converted to go racing. With the JCW, you've got a purebred race car. Just everything about it. Just the whole experience of sitting in the car, what you've got around you as a driver. When I was in my Cooper, I had a rev counter, the speedometer, as you'd have in a road car. And then if something was going wrong, I'd just get, check engine light pops on, and you go, oh, right, well, something's gone kaput. I better pull in the CW. You turn it on, the dashboard lights up, and it tells you your brake pressure, your oil pressures, 5 different temperatures of random things. Just everything. You've got I've now got kind of nice lights to tell me when to change gear.
Yeah.
That's it's common to everyone in racing games, but in most club racing levels, you don't really have that. You just have a rev counter like you have in a rev car, and you just go, I know I need to change when it gets to there. You put a little Sharpie on it, and you go, right, when it gets there, that's when I'm going to change gear. So just everything like that. And then also just the feel of the thing. It's an absolute animal compared to 130 horsepower, where you're just thinking, right, I need to just keep on this throttle as much as possible. I need to wring its neck. With the JCW, you now have more power than you really need to put down all the time. Prime example was the first kind of time coming out of the pit lane, and in a Cooper, you get to the end of the pit lane, you floor it, your wheels spin for a second, it grips, and you go. And that's fine. My first instructions in the JCW were, now careful, because if you do that, you'll rip your drive shafts, and that'll be it. You'll pull up on the side of the, and even then I went out as steady as I could, started wheels spinning, backed off, changed the second, went again, still wheels spinning, tried third, finally got traction in third. And it was at that point, I got 50 meters down the track, and I went, right, this thing's just another level, But thankfully there was always kind of this thing in the JCWs. People always said, oh, well, how they handle under you, they're always trying to kill you. Well, the championships made some changes this year to the tires and other bits and bobs, and thankfully it's a bit more kind of harking back to the Cooper, and I can I don't feel like it's going to try and throw me into a tire wall just for thinking about touching the brake pedal or changing gear or anything like that. So it was a good test day. A lot was learned, but I'm really looking forward to the season now. I think I should take to it quite well, and hopefully when I get to Donington in maybe 6 weeks time, we'll have something to kind of put forward as a competitive package, and get in the mix straight away, start having a bit of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, honestly, I'm really looking forward to obviously the whole of the Toka package being back, in particular the minis, and obviously for BTCC. But the minis, it's going to be another fantastic year. Lots of great drivers again, lots of great teams. But my final question for you: you've got a particular aim, obviously, going into the new season?
I do. I don't know if I want to tell everyone, but no, I think carried it into a championship, and that's the idea of coming into a championship and winning it the first year is, it's not really realistic. But the idea of the Rookie Cup, kind of, you can't not want that. So that's the kind of big goal. But there's a lot of smaller goals along the way to that. Every time you get in that car through the season, I'm going to have something in my head as a goal. From one test session to the next, and that Rookie Cup is hopefully the accumulation of all those goals being achieved. But first off, I just want to be competitive. Just want to make sure that when I get out there, I can get in the mix. I think it's really important that I don't just get to the championship and then trundle around at the back. That's kind of the biggest fear, isn't it? That I don't want to just fill out a grid. I want to be there to compete, to challenge for positions, to challenge for whatever that kind of position is that you're chasing. And it's way more fun when you've got half a dozen other cars around you, whatever you're racing. If you're surrounded by competitors, it's when things get a bit dicey, but it's also, that's where you find the fun. So that's the first goal: get in the mix, have fun, and then hopefully by the end of the season, there's a bit of silverware somewhere in that.
Yeah, good, absolutely. Well, thank you so very much for coming on the show for a chat. It's been really good to hear, obviously, your past racing experiences, and obviously going into what I would have thought was going to be a very, very exciting year for you and everyone in the JCW. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. It's been good.
Yeah,